Hello. So today we're going to take a look under the hood here. You guys wanted to see a video of my sump, and you guys are going to get it. Because you guys are the ones in the driver's seat here. I just make the videos, you guys tell me what you want to see, and that's what I'm making. In addition to the sump, one of the common questions I get when people see videos of this tank, they're like, what brand is that? And to answer your question, I have no idea. I have looked everywhere for a maker's mark. There is not a single mark on this tank. I bought it used from a little fish store that was getting ready to go out of business. But now he's made a big comeback since I started buying a ton of stuff from there. I'm not going to take full credit for that, but I think I did help in his recovery, or in his store's recovery, because when I bought it a couple months ago, I asked him, how much is that display tank there? He's like, I don't know, 300 kwai, just take it. And 300 kwai is like, $45, so, just a steal for a tank of this quality and size. But yeah, he's made a huge comeback. But yeah, I looked everywhere to try to find a brand name. Who knows? All I know is that it was cheap and extremely heavy, which Shelly and I found out as we were carrying it up 5 flights of stairs. Shelly was such a trooper about that. Didn't even complain. So, at the top, I've got, roughly 20 gallons. I'm not 100% sure. He sold it to me as a 100-liter system, so 100 liters counting the display and the sump underneath. And, I rounded that out to 20 gallons up top, 5 gallons down below. A lot of people say it looks a lot bigger on camera, which is actually rare. Aquariums tend to look smaller on camera. But this is actually a pretty small tank. I'm going to upgrade in, about 5 or 6 months to some bigger stuff when I move. As for lighting, I am running this strange Chinese brand that I have never heard of, but it is quite a good light. I've been really pleased with it. You can adjust your high whites, you can adjust your actinics, and then it also has some red-green lights with it. I paid 460 kwai, which is a little over $60. I've been really happy with it. It's called a Sun Polar light. It was a brand I was unfamiliar with, but the guy I bought the tank from at the fish store said they were great, so I just took his word on it, and I've been really happy with it ever since. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look under the hood here. Alright, well here we are, and you can get a really good view of all that limited space that I have. You can see I'm squeezed in here, but this is my sump. And I'm going to show you a couple of things about it that make it kind of unique, but also kind of pretty basic. So one of the things you'll notice is I have a lot of live rock in here. You don't have to necessarily use live rock. It's totally okay to use dry rock these days. I just happen to have access to really cheap live rock, so I ended up just using that. Okay, so here's a look at my sump here. I have a really basic, just 3-chamber sump. I have a large chamber, a medium chamber, and then the last chamber, which has my return pump in it. So it flows down from the tank from that PVC pipe right over there. Flows through all the live rock and then into the return chamber. One of the things notably absent from my sump is I do not have any mechanical filtration media. No filter floss, nothing like that. All I have in here is live rock and a protein skimmer. Oh, and of course the heater. I don't actually run any mechanical filtration because I had some trouble with phosphates, and that's one of the ways you can lower your phosphates is by not using mechanical filtration. And my water got a little less clear when I stopped using it, but to me, it looks clear enough. It's still really pretty, still really enjoyable. And tucked away in the corner there, I have my protein skimmer. And if I was to oversimplify what a protein skimmer does, it makes bubbles. It's the same thing as sea foam. And what those bubbles do is it takes fish poop out of the water and deposits them into that little cup at the top. Just a really basic protein skimmer. Just another Chinese brand I had never heard of. A really well-designed one, really well-built. Still cheap, but really good. Really been pleased with it. I run just an incredibly basic system. All I have in this tank for filtration is live rock and a protein skimmer. I have no other form of filtration. I really don't have much equipment on this tank at all. All I have is the heater, the protein skimmer, the return pump, and the power head. And I don't even have the power head turned on right now because I have an uneasy alliance with an anemone that is finally in a nice spot, and I don't want to make it move. So I can tell there's a lot of my corals, they are just hungry for more flow, but I really want to keep that anemone in its place, and that anemone is the most expensive thing in the tank right now, and I do not want to displease it. So that brings us to a really interesting question. Do you need a sump? There's a lot of people out there that would lead you to believe that a sump is a magic box that they keep under their tank that is vastly superior to all other forms of filtration. But I'm going to shoot you straight. It's a box with water where you can hide all of your equipment. So one of the reasons people want a sump is because it adds extra water volume to the tank. And this is also the reason that people recommend that the newcomers to the hobby start with as large of a tank as they can, because the more water volume you have, the bigger mistakes you can make. So for example, if you have a small, say 5-gallon nano reef, and you have a snail in there, if that snail crawls under a rock and you forget it's there, if it just crawls under a rock and dies, that snail can crash a tank. Whereas if you have 125 gallons of water volume to work with, and a snail crawls under a rock and dies, and you just don't notice, it's not going to crash the tank. It'll still mess up your parameters. The stuff in there won't be, happy, but it won't crash things. The tank will pull through. A sump's second purpose is to hide all of your equipment. A lot of people in the hobby, they don't like looking at heaters, they don't like looking at hang-on-the-back filters, they don't like to see their protein skimmer, so they take all those things and they just put them in the sump where you can't see them. If you don't mind looking at your heater or your protein skimmer, you don't necessarily need a sump. There's nothing magic or mystical about a sump. It's just a place to put stuff. It's just a storage area. Well, not technically a storage area for your equipment in use. Alright, well thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next week, follow me on Instagram, and hit me up with any questions you have. I'll see you next time. Bye.